So now that we're in Photoshop, we can bring in the line work we just edited in Illustrator by going to File, Place Linked. This is going to link the actual Illustrator in case you ever go into this file again and edit. Press Place. Going to crop to Media Box. Press OK. And it should land perfectly over the image because we already adjusted this in Illustrator with the rendered image. So if you look, the line work should be close to the edges. But you can also see there's these peculiar gaps, and that is because we made 2D with 3D people in the way. So that's why you see little moments like that. So what I'm going to do is Control 0 just to expand, and I'm going to go grab the rendering that actually has the people in it, just to show you a cleaner version of what's going on here. So that's why there's a hidden line in that area. So you could make 2D, you could go back to Rhino, make 2D without the people. But we're going to leave this like this for now. And once you have all the line work in, you can also add some 2D people. And let me just take this opportunity to quickly show you how to make a brush. If you didn't already have a ton of Photoshop brushes, like I do in this file here, you could take a silhouette off the internet, open it in Photoshop, and then you could go to Edit and Define Brush Preset. We could call this Man 1, press OK, and now I have a brush of this man that I can put all over my image here. I'm just going to create a new layer and press B to make sure I'm on the brush tool, or go over here and just using the brackets. I use the left bracket and right bracket to expand and shrink the brush, and you could see roughly we could get it to the scale of human figures in this model, and you could start adding some people around this model like that. Maybe give her a friend, and yeah, it's just a quick way to add people. Now, you probably don't want to copy and paste a bunch of the same figures around, so you could go to your brushes and look for a little bit of diversity and add some different people. Let's see what kind of brushes I have here. Got some people jumping. You know, maybe this is a very excited brush pack here. But maybe there's reasons to celebrate on the balcony, I'm not sure. Maybe even a celebration on the roof. A little dangerous, but we'll put them there. And we could add some birds, perhaps. Maybe some birds that make sense at this angle. Maybe this is okay. And I usually like to place birds strategically to draw attention to a certain part of the image. So, you know, maybe for whatever reason this box in the back was important, so I would place it the top left here just to draw your eye over to that area. Let's see what else we have here. Maybe some trees too. So a lot of these brushes, also maybe there's a cactus, maybe we're in the appropriate climate for this. And this is just a really simple graphic. You know, this is not a realistic rendering at all. It's just a simple way to bring your model progress from Rhino into Photoshop and just start to give it a little bit of life. So you could just keep adding some brushes. Maybe there are different scales. Maybe now we're actually in the desert. Um, could also show you how to mask this too. So say you wanted something to be poking up from behind the architecture, we could add a layer mask, and we could start to trim this away. Just press delete. Make sure it's on the white color. White will take it away, and if I deleted this, the black will bring it back. And that's if you're on the eraser tool. So just press X again, it'll flip between black and white. And I'm going to erase that. Make sure it's on 100% opacity. If it wasn't, you could mess with how much it takes away, but we want to take all of it away. And then Control D to deselect that. Then I'm also going to go for the railing. And just make sure that you're definitely selected on the mask, because if you're selected out here, you'll physically delete this stuff and you can't bring it back. So what's nice about this is you can disable it and bring the whole image back. So because this is also behind glass, I want to make this part of the trunk just a little more faded. So let's erase, and then let's mess with the opacity a little bit. So maybe that looks okay. All right, so that's how to make the tree look like it's behind there. And what else do we have that we could potentially add? Maybe I'll just add another person here. A younger demographic. Make sure I'm not on the mask here. Oops. See what I just did? I actually added a mask to this area, so you want to make sure that, see, you could delete that there. You want to make sure there's no mask here, so I can still use this area for my brush. There we go. And maybe there. Okay, so we've got some people, some trees. Looks like a pretty busy place. And maybe we'll want to add some text now. So let's go and press T for text. You can also grab it over here where the T is. I'm going to click. I'm going to type in Axon 1. I'm going to make it a little bigger. I'm going to make it a little bolder. And I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to resize it. I want to distort this a little bit. I want to rotate it and I want to distort it so it lines up with my axon. And it is at 30 degrees. So I know that's 30. And then I'm going to do a trick and hold Control and then click on the corner. And you can start to adjust it like this. But if you hold Shift, it'll lock it so that it moves nicely along this axis. And you want this to be 30 as well, at least for my image here. So I can get that to 30. You can also change that up here. I want it exactly 30. I'm going to press Enter. And where should I put this? I'm gonna keep it up here, but now I have to resize it or get rid of the person who's in the way. Let's do that. I'm gonna keep it like that. That looks okay. And I'm also gonna maybe change the color to white, and then I'm gonna double click on the layer and pull up some options. And maybe I want to give this, you could do a lot by adding a stroke, could give it an outline, you could give it an inner shadow, and I think that's what I want to do. But you could click and play with all these, see what it does. A lot of different features. You can put a drop shadow there. But what I'm going to do is just put a nice inner shadow like that, and yeah, I like the way that looks. But I might want to make it bigger, so I'm going to get rid of this person up here, and using the mask, I'm going to erase this person, and I'm going to go back to the text, double click in there, and resize this so it's bigger so you can see it easily. So that looks okay. And then maybe, maybe you want to add, maybe you have something interesting to say about your project, so you can put some more text out here somewhere. Maybe resize it so it's complementary to the architecture. And so this could be just, this could be one image of a series. Maybe you have a half dozen different formal moves you're showing in a presentation. You're showing the kind of growth from a box to a articulated piece architecture over the course of many images. So you could think about this format to design your presentation. A few other things, you could also just crop this down. Maybe you don't want all this white space. I just had these settings coming out of Rhino. Go to image and crop this. And just make sure it's consistent with your other images though. Uh, a few other tips I just wanted to show you before I end this video um, is inverting and black and white. So we could quickly just make all this black and white. Maybe you want the focus to actually be the text and the explanation. So maybe this is actually the blue. So you could move this above. Maybe that's the focus, and maybe this is also the focus. You could also just use the eyedropper to click around colors you'd like to include. So maybe we really like that blue. So maybe the focus is more about the text. I'm not sure. Depends on your project. Let me go back a few times. Um, or maybe you're the invert type. This is popular in architecture schools. Some people get obsessed with inverting, so just know that it's a quick tool to do that as well. And often it's just a nice way to break up the white space that can be relentless in architectural graphics and visualizations and the drawings that show up in your portfolio. So just think about making different colored backgrounds using some of these adjustments in Photoshop. And maybe one last trick is adding a multiplied color overlay. Maybe we have this obnoxious magenta, and then you can use multiply um, to layer over here. Another thing I've noticed is that the lines shifted in our drawing here. So if that happens, uh, you can bring this back in. Just make sure that it's aligned properly. Oh, so now that we cropped it, it's It's unfortunate. We've lost the alignment. So you would probably have to go back a few times um, to make sure that this is aligned properly. Um, Let me go back to making a color. But also just play with the blend modes too. Um, these blend modes are pretty powerful depending on the type of layer you have. So you could just scroll quickly through these to see what different effects they have on your graphics here. And for whatever reason, I like this hue setting, and I will leave it at that. So that was just a quick way to bring your Rhino model and your Make 2D lines from Rhino, Illustrator into Photoshop, and just start to think about populating your models with a little more life using Photoshop brushes. So that's all for now. I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.